I'm going to start today with a quote by Joseph Campbell. The fundamental human experience is that of compassion. And this is a beautiful quote, and it's absolutely spot on in my experience. Everything really comes back to compassion, self-compassion. When we have it, everything is so much easier when it comes to anxiety and OCD. And, it was really nice when I looked up a quote for today's podcast that I managed to find this one on compassion by Joseph Campbell, because Joseph Campbell is the mythologist who really brought this idea of the hero's journey into the popular imagination. And what he did is he went all around the world, going to different cultures and looking at various different indigenous groups. And, he was speaking with them, and what he wanted to find out is there a kind of meta story that humans typically tell? And actually, he found that to be the case, that most or almost every single culture from around the planet tends to share this idea of the hero's journey. Sometimes it's referred to as the mono myth. And it's really this kind of idea that in order for us to grow, we have to go through challenges. We have to, accept a difficult challenge, take it on, overcome any obstacles that may be in our way, and return having learned a lot from that challenge. A typical idea of this would be, the knight going out to slay the evil dragon. The idea here is, of course, that the dragon is the fear, and that the hero is learning to face that fear down, is not allowing the fear to consume them. And this is a really great metaphor for us when it comes to OCD. Of course, what we have to learn to do is to kind of face that fear, to not allow our fears to dictate to us how we're going to live our lives. And let's be honest, that's what OCD wants to do. It wants to kind of take over our life. It wants to make our fears and our obsessions the center of everything. And it wants us to get stuck on them, to keep thinking about them all the time, to go round and round, looking for certainty about them. And actually, the hero's journey in this respect is learning to let go of that. Our dragon, when it comes to the OCD hero's journey, is really learning how to pay attention and observe the anxiety, but not get so caught up in it. So let's explore this a little bit more. So at the beginning of the hero's journey, there's a kind of call to action. And this really is a kind of realization that life isn't the same anymore. For whatever reason, something's a bit different. OCD, perhaps, or anxiety has come along, and it's really turned things upside down. And we're struggling. We're finding it very difficult to deal with this new thing, OCD, that might be in our lives. Or perhaps it's different for you. Perhaps the OCD has been there for a long, long time. And it may be, if we try to look at this through the lens of the hero's journey, that this call to action, has been going on for many, many years. One of the issues, though, is often we don't really accept that call to action. We don't want to listen to it. We don't necessarily want to change because maybe we feel comfortable in our current situation. We may not like the current situation because we're experiencing OCD all day long and we're really struggling with anxiety. But, often there is a sense of familiarity that comes with these kinds of things. We're more used to feeling this way than we are perhaps of, taking on an adventure or experiencing things in a different way or experiencing uncertainty. We'd rather hold on to these kind of unhelpful but familiar coping strategies that kind of keep us stuck. And so I think a really important part of the hero's journey is reflecting on that. Is that you in some way? Do you feel stuck? Do you recognize that perhaps there is a call to change? That OCD, if we can view it through that kind of lens, that perhaps OCD is actually wanting us to get into our lives a bit more, and if we can see it from that perspective, that doesn't mean that we don't recognize how difficult OCD is. Of course, it's an incredibly hard thing to experience and to go through. So we're not denying the reality of having OCD, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to reframe it as a thing that's coming along in our lives, and it's making us maybe see things in a different way. It's making us to try to start living our life in ways that are more meaningful, purposeful, perhaps ways that encourage you to take on challenges or to live more in the present, to be more accepting, to allow more uncertainty. All of these things are actually really, really positive things. Here's another quote, and this one's from the Jung Foundation for Analytical Psychology. The core often comes at an important moment. Old life values have often been outgrown, and a certain sterility has set in. Whatever its form, the call awakens the hero to his or her special destiny. And, I think if we can see it like that, if we can say, okay, I really dislike OCD and it has been holding me back for many years or many months or however long it's been for you personally. However, can I see that if I accept the challenge and I actually really try to commit to overcoming it in a positive way, even if that's just taking a few small steps each day, then you can start actually, making progress. And this part of the hero's journey is really, it's called kind of crossing the threshold. It's when we actually, start the process. We're moving out of the Shire, if we were talking about Lord of the Rings, which really is a classic kind of hero's journey. And so we're kind of accepting that challenge. We're moving forward. However, as we do, we're going to come across various different challenges and temptations. And of course, some of those challenges and temptations are going to include the compulsions that keep us trapped. We are going to deal with all sorts of setbacks, potentially, uncertainty, moments where we feel really lost or unsure about what we're doing. We're going to feel that maybe we're not taking the right path. Maybe that the chosen tools that we're using, maybe acceptance commitment therapy or exposure work, they're not working for us. Maybe they work for other people, but it's not working for us. And we start to have all of these doubts. But we keep moving forward. We keep recognizing that, these are challenges that are coming up, but rather than seeing them now as these immovable objects, these horrendous compulsions that are always going to keep us trapped, now we've got onto this hero's journey. We start seeing them as more as challenges, more as things that we can overcome if we have the right kind of mindset about them. So we keep moving forward. We start making more and more progress. But of course, as we do this, other challenges are going to come along. And as I'm sure you've probably experienced with OCD, every now and then there's a really big challenge that comes along. Sometimes you might call it a big setback. And in terms of the hero's journey, we can call this the abyss. And this is when you really feel like you've hit rock bottom again, or you feel that you've gone back to square one. And as I've spoken about before, my opinion is that you don't really go back to square one. That growth, well, it involves this process of you actually moving out into your life, taking on these challenges, having setbacks here and there. But then kind of getting back on the horse and carrying on again. And That's what I think we have to do. And so, at times though, there are these incredibly difficult setbacks that we have. But if we can keep those in perspective, in those moments when we are really feeling challenged, we need to be a bit more compassionate with ourselves. As the quote stated at the start, compassion is maybe the most important thing of all. And when we are struggling and we're having these big setbacks, we need to be patient and compassionate with ourselves and to recognize that we're on the right path, that this is a setback, and that if we just keep moving again, just start trying to build up again from where you are by just doing small steps, well, you can get yourself out of that abyss, out of that feeling of being stuck. You start moving again, and before you know it, you're really back on the path. The next step is the transformation or the revelation. And this is when you are really beginning to get some success with the approach. You have perhaps developed a lot of skills in relation to acceptance commitment therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy. Perhaps you're doing exposure work and mindfulness on a regular basis. Maybe you're using breath work activities. Maybe you're finding exercise to be very helpful for you. And you're learning how to bring more acceptance and compassion to the OCD. You're starting to allow a bit more uncertainty into your life. And all of these things are kind of like revelations where, maybe before you kind of understood them on an intellectual level, but now that you've kind of got out there on this hero's journey and you've taken on the dragon and you've learned how to accept that dragon, rather than actually slaying the dragon. I think really what we're talking about here is learning to put a bit of an arm around that dragon, to realize that, when we bring compassion to the situation, that's really what we're doing. We're bringing more acceptance to our fears. And in doing so, we overcome them. But it isn't a superficial realization. It's a realization on a deeper level, and that's something that you can't undo. It's something that goes deeply into your nervous system, and you're living your life in a different way, and that's really the next stage, or the final stage. Then is you kind of return into your life as the quote unquote hero. In some ways, we don't want to big ourselves up too much, of course. But we want to recognize that actually we've just done something very, very difficult. We've learned how to bring more acceptance and compassion to OCD and our fears. That is something very, very hard to do. And, if you managed to do that, then you've most probably really grown as a person. You've probably developed wisdom, and now that's something that you can share with other people. It's you're able to kind of help other people in your life. You're able to bring more compassion to other people's struggles. You have more strength, and this is something then that you can actually make a positive difference to the people around you because of the experiences that you've been through. And I think if you're able to kind of see OCD through this kind of lens, it can be really, really helpful. And again, I really want to stress the importance of recognizing what I'm talking about here is all about trying to bring more of a positive and actually more of a compassionate view to OCD. I think sometimes when we convince ourselves that we have this horrendous thing called OCD and we're stuck, and and we want to kind of focus on how difficult it is and how negative it is and how awful it is. Okay, like all of those things are true, but I think if we focus on those things, it tends to keep us more stuck. If we can bring this perspective of, okay, I'm somebody who does have these challenges, but I'm going to really try to get into my life to bring more determination, to bring more acceptance and compassion, and I'm going to overcome this. I know it's going to be difficult at times, but I'm going to try to commit to taking small steps each day. And perhaps the first step that everybody should really be thinking about taking is working with a therapist or somebody to really help you. Highly recommend that you do that in order to get the right support with overcoming OCD and anxiety. But yeah, I think if we can frame the challenge of OCD in this way, it can really help us to actually take the action we need to take in order to improve our situations. So I really hope that you found that helpful. If you have any questions at all, do please let me know, and I will see you next time. Just a quick reminder that if you want to get a free session, all you need to do to get that is to head over to my website, www.robertjamescoaching.com, and there you can leave me a message and we can arrange the free session. And now just a quick reminder of my disclaimer. Any information that you view on my website, Instagram page, Facebook group, or anywhere else online, or any information that you listen to on the podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for actual medical or mental health advice from a doctor, psychologist, or any other medical or mental health professional.